Howdy guys, Joseph here, and today I want to talk about perhaps the most important part of your Turo listings or your car rental website, which is the photos. This is a vanity game. People generally are going to choose things based on how good they look. You could have the exact same car as your competitors, but if it's not placed in the right environment, if it's not shot with the right lighting, it's just not going to work for you. You're not going to be maximizing the value of your asset, which you paid very dearly for. So you need to consider the mechanics of a good photo when you are shooting. And I think the best way to illustrate that is to take a look at what the folks are doing on Turo. Now, real quickly, on Turo, photos are a minimum of 5,000 by 3,000 pixels, so that's a 5:3 ratio. They recommend a 20% buffer on all sides because the Turo engine takes the photo and it crops it for all sorts of different scenarios. It's going to crop it for the listing, but then when you come in here, it's going to crop it, and guess what? When you resize this page, it's going to recrop it. I'm not going to do that right now, but it's going to crop it all sorts of ways. So they do recommend the 20% around the sides, which these guys did not follow, you can tell. But that's just an extra complication. Really, the mechanics of a good photo, that's a tale as old as photography itself. So with Turo, you probably want the car in the center of the frame. You probably want a front side angle. You probably want a non-distracting background. You likely want a background that is different than your car. Example, this gray car in winter, not so good. This blue car against a foliage background, better. Actually better. You want to be careful where the sun is coming from. This photo, you can tell the sun is coming from here. There's not much of a shadow. But if you look at some of these, this has a pretty big shadow. Some of these photos like this, the sun is over here. The sun is by the tree. It's casting that huge shadow. That's distracting. That's a lot of negative space. You don't want that in your photo. You have to be careful about the time of day when you take these photos. Light is diffuse during golden hour, so you can find a golden hour timer online, but golden hour is usually, it's like an hour before sunset or so. That's a good time because the light is harsh. This might be 2 p.m. The light is really harsh. You don't necessarily want to be shooting. You get a lot of highs and lows, the highs in the hood, the lows in the side of the car that are unexposed. It just makes for harsh images. Again, you want a front side. You really don't want just a straight front. You don't want to be in a driveway. You want to take your car somewhere nice. Nature's good. Parks are good. Some people do the white background. That's okay too, depending on what your vibe is. But I would recommend being consistent. There are some folks that use the same background for everything, and that's good because that's their signature. Everyone knows that a car belongs to them, as long as it's a good background that follows all the rules and works for a variety of cars. You get funny stuff like this too with the donuts. This is a little too far out. This has a shadow issue. This is about right, but again, you're getting a lot of shadow on this left side of the car here. So just as an example, I want to show you our photos. These are professionally done. This was a shoot. We did 4 or 5 cars in one day. We did it at, dusky, like 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock during the summer. And we did a few other things also. So this is my 2010 Bentley Continental GT that I love very much. It's still part of the fleet. It does really well. We did a couple things. One, we used a shallow depth of field. So we blurred the background, which is kind of important. Makes the car stand out a bit more. 2, if you notice, there's really no shadow that's disruptive to the car. 3, we used a polarizing lens, which reduced some of the glare. It didn't completely eliminate it, but it did make it a little better. So if you're using a digital SLR, even you can slap one onto your camera. 4, we chose an uncrowded area, not too visually interesting. We let the car be, the standout. And 5, we got good, clear interior shots, well lit. We even did a 360 with a 360 camera we were able to pick up, and that's really neat. That kind of helps with the listing. So this has been Joseph with the Turo update. Any questions, any thoughts, feel free to reach out. I'd like to hear from you about your photos.